video off with coughing. So the whole idea is just a chance for us to be able to get together. There's this gathering. I want this to go for a little bit of time, at least a handful of hours. And one of the things that I wanted to do is I just want to be able to talk about questions that we all may have individually. All right. So if anyone has anything to bring up or you've seen anything new, that was where we started discussing this. That's the idea, is just that chance for us experienced users. And we've got a lot of experience on here. So I appreciate you guys joining me. But I saw this software in a meeting yesterday, and it is the coolest software. If you have an internet browser and you go to Hypar, right? The neat thing about this software is this runs 100%. You see, I'm not even going to save or close that. So if I go to Hypar and go to that website, watch what happens. It actually remembers the file that I was working in. Now, this software.
The file stored in the cloud?
Say again?
Is the file stored in the cloud or is it on your machine?
No, it's totally in the cloud.
Okay.
It's totally in the cloud. And the idea is, if I have an Excel spreadsheet, this could tell me all the different types of rooms that I want to place. But it doesn't take long to learn how this software works. You want to put in a space. Now, if I was wanting to put in one of the other spaces, like a operating room or something like that, I'd hit it here. Well, maybe, and see, it knew the size that it needed to be. And all you basically do are trying to stack this thing like Legos. But what happens is then, after you put in spaces, because all this is doing is catching the spaces, then you come in and you put some furniture in. Now, this is the really crazy part about the furniture. When it goes in, it's sort of like, and remember, I haven't even driven this for an hour. It gets attached to this room, so that if this room decides to change, let's see, there it is. Notice how that toilet, notice how this room is keeping the square footage because it knew it needed to be 1,000 square foot room. But when you're moving, those pieces of equipment stick to the walls. And then the whole beauty of this is so you can start to say, well, I want one of those operating rooms, but we're going to actually have 3 floors of those things. There's a checkbox on here, 4 floors. So this basically is the flushing out of the beginning of the building. And then what you do is you export this to Revit. And when it comes into Revit, it comes in with all those spaces, all those rooms, all the walls between them, and is ready to go. But this is really only for a very small percentage of people. And to be honest with you, I have an architect that I'm going to be reaching out to because I know this is what he's always wanted to do. But what amazes me is the fact that this is all done. I didn't load any software. If you try it, if you just go to that Hypar and then start to play with it a little bit, I don't recommend anyone waste a whole heck of a lot of time, but understand, I have a feeling the software is really going to change. Okay. Then the other software that they talked about was a really cool software that Jaffe turned me on to. He had seen in Chicago. So, Mikey, I am going to look for you to give me a little bit of talking here and a little bit about what you saw at Trimble, because I think that would be a valuable one. But Jaffe called me about this place, and all of the conduit what you do, and Eric would understand this best because of his work in an electrical company. All of the conduit got run by AI. So the AI tried to give like 3 or 4 solutions, and then you chose which solution you wanted to use. But it did all of the conduit runs from the one panel to the other. Think about how many
And
projects
it
you've built,
imports to Revit as conduit?
and it is conduit in Revit, correct? Correct. So the neat thing is they're gonna have mechanical coming for it. So Mike, if you're looking into new solutions,
Oh,
it's not going to be very long before this place. I forget where I saw it. I think it was a. See, they're going to do plumbing and mechanical next, and then they're going to do the structural.
okay.
So it's something I would be planting as the seed. I don't even know that they have a pricing structure up yet. And ironically, this is how I found Dalux. And I'll be honest, I do want to do an hour episode on Dalux on things we could have tried to use in Dalux because Misty and I were extremely excited. We used Dalux for just its bare bones. But I'll be honest, I think it was worth every penny spent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're saying that there was a good push on Siskiyou. Did you like what you saw?
I like this cure a lot. I use that in McKinney's.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike was just in Vegas
I,
at
I,
a.
I think you're the one who got me liking it, weren't you, Mike? I think you were using it first.
Yeah, well, when Eric, and I were working together back in the day, we kind of got a license of it and played around with it a little bit, but I really don't think we dug into it very deep by any means. And since then, it's been purchased by Trimble, and Trimble has put a lot of money into the software. And just a little bit that I've used it, over the last, say, year, which is very little, if I must say, it has improved tremendously. And of course, they were showing Revit 2025, and but they did say that all versions. I think he actually said 22, 23, and 24 and 25. They're going to support all of those versions for a while.
That is
Um,
great. That's good.
so of course, like I said, they showed everything in uh, the 25 version, and they also got a new toolbar that's coming out. I think it's called Smart Tools,
Uh-huh.
and where Siskiyou, the most of it, you have to have like Siskiyou kind of pipe or Siskiyou kind of duct and fit and whatever, fittings and this and that. Where the Smart Tools is actually going to recognize and allow you to do openings, allow you to do hangers with just out of the box Revit piping, from what I understand. So I'm gonna play with that a little bit, hopefully in the next couple of weeks as well. So
Cool. That
it
sounds
was very,
exciting.
I would definitely say I want to have a couple classes on hangers.
yeah.
I definitely think that would be a valid future presentation that I want to put on there.
Right.
So you know, wonder how that works. This is where I need my Tyler man. How do we track a list of things that we want to discuss? And I don't have, we missed the first 10 minutes of that presentation, Eric.
Uh-huh.
But that bulletin board thing she was doing where you could see all the mouses,
Uh-huh.
I think that has some real potential.
Look like flies flying everywhere.
Well, here's what got me lost on how we would do that. But it appears as though, from what we saw yesterday, we could do a Zoom meeting. If we do a Zoom meeting, the Zoom meeting has the ability to allow you to put your cursor on the other person's screen. Does that
I
make
love
sense?
taking control. I like taking control. Is that what that is?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You have that ability to control their screen. They can enable your control, which means, what worried me was how do I keep that live on the stream? But all we would do is I would just project that onto the screen at the time, that Zoom meeting, and there would just be a little bit of a lag. But I think we would then be able to solve the problem of when we're showing someone moving our mouse, which is a different color, to the location. Does anyone have any Zoom experience enough to know how to do that? No. Silence.
I've had a little, but not enough to be able to do that. I don't think.
Well, maybe that's something we can get one of the younger
On
fellows
this.
to learn some software. Because I know that's the one downside to the panel that we've got going right now is we've all been doing this for a couple years. We're not really keen on learning new tricks. But I do think part of this meeting has to be about these new tricks. My problem with the Augmenta when I looked at it last year is I said, I don't think I'm going to be drawing pipe and duct long enough to wait for Augmenta to come out. But I will tell you the Hypar, I looked into, I did some searching on the internet or on the web page, and I found out about the guy who's doing the Hypar. And he's really a critical guy who did a lot of big things that became bin fusion. I think it was also he did the ACC cloud stuff so that you could see it live 3D. He went to work for Autodesk for a couple years, and now he's starting his own business. And to me, that's very appealing. I'm sure he's got all kinds of NDAs and can't discuss that time, but
Yeah, because
that
I really like that. I like that ACC stuff, the 3D views and all that stuff that he did. It looks good.
well. So tell us a little bit more, Mike. Anything else that was like you're saying that just the Siskiyou was the interesting class for you?
Well, I mean, they did have a class that I was at talking about the AI, and it was very interesting as well.
What did you gather from it?
Well, what's the best way to put it? For
Flew
right
over your head?
for right now, for what I need, not really, what I need, but I think down the road it could be very interesting, dangerous, awesome. So I mean,
Yeah.
like talking about like schedules, for instance, they were talking about instead of searching or making schedules, you pretty much just put in there like kind of like a filter thing. You just tell it what you want or what you need, and it automatically generates it. So some wild things.
Yep, that would make sense. I know there's an AI function on this thing. So the idea is you can actually bring stuff from Revit as well, and you make these family groups. So if you were doing hotels, you might do the hotel rooms. If you were doing a school, you might do classrooms and ganged bathrooms. And then as you drag these spaces onto there, they're fully populated with all of the pieces of equipment. And that equipment all stays Revit supposedly when it comes in. If that's the case, you could do an early plan so quickly, except I haven't figured out if they can do this or not. But if you could because you can go to a 2D, right? And then there was also a diagrammatic. Yep, that one there that took the walls away and made everything just these bubble shapes. Because you see, that's why. And you see how it put all the space tags, has everything set up, and there's a like 2-click button to put this thing on a title block. All very simple and beautiful if you need to do a bubble diagram. But what I need to know is, can you put an image in here of someone's design that they've already done? Does that make sense?
Right. Because I mean, this is more like the architect starting out trying to design a space and try to figure out how to,
But
make.
remember, it wasn't really that undetailed. It was detailed enough that if you wanted to, you could go down and look in those rooms.
But you said that information comes from some kind of a spreadsheet, correct?
That's correct. You're able to import all of that from the spreadsheet. I noticed that on here, right down here, you can export it to Excel or you can import the requirements. So in an Excel spreadsheet, you could have all of that information. I think you could tear up a new building. And in my mind, that would interest me to approach a couple architects to see if they would be interested in something like this. Now, the amazing thing also is this is so friendly to share with someone. All I come down here and do is share, and I can then send this to you, and you can be working on it 2 minutes later on your computer because it's in the cloud. To me, I think the guy's onto something. I think it's pretty smart. And like I said, he had some AI. I'm not sold on AI at this minute. I be honest.
Can you export right now?
What's that?
Can you export to Revit?
Yep. Right up here.
Do it.
Export. I won't do me any good because it only goes back to Revit 2022. So if someone has a copy, but listen, it just means, baby, if you want to load 2025 and run the 30-day demo, I would love to see what you can do with 2025. I would just tell you from what I've seen, reviewing what the new releases are, you're not going to see a real difference other than a couple of good add-ins that are finally now part of Revit. And that's where I don't think they're treating us fairly. And I don't know what part you watched yesterday, Mike, of my rant, but I know I'm really disappointed that they don't respect our time. Us having to upgrade every year and us having to deal with what do we got to do to free up our C drive because we got to get rid of an old piece of software, and what jobs do I have in what software? And you can't control what version of Revit you're working in. No one will let you upgrade anything.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not fair to the users. It's not fair to the users. Did you walk away saying there was anything I gotta have when you got back, or other than a damn aspirin for all the hangover?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the one thing I really did find was interesting. One of the last speakers that I was in, he was very Revit, Siskiyou, Revit, Siskiyou, but his deal was templates. Don't ever start a project without templates. And he started going through how many templates that he had in his project. And so the one question that I asked, which I think you'd be proud of me for asking, I said, so, may I ask how large is your file before you start a project? And take a wild guess how big his file is before he draws the first
I don't even need to take a wild guess. That's the problem. That's the people that are advising you out there. That's the people that are advising you. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to make those same kind of mistakes. If there's anything I've learned about Revit, there's things I thought were the best way to do it. That a couple years later, I was like, why the hell was I doing that?
Right. But he started off
How big?
Between 100 and 150 megs, depending on if it was a hotel or bigger. And of course, I didn't say anything, but I mean,
That's before you draw wall one.
That's before you draw anything, anything. So, of course, in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, I'll smoke you all day long with creating what I need, if I have a file that's 40 to 80 megs with fully populated.
My grasshopper, you make me so happy. You made my day. I was struggling little bit, but you made my day. You understand that? You made my day.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, like I said, but I mean, I see why he does it, but it's just like I don't. I mean, because he was kept saying it's so much faster, so much faster. Well, I just don't. I have to disagree. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it was interesting.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that what we're going to end up doing when we go into the cleanup session is I'm going to try to show you how you can actually steal the stuff from the template that you need. Okay. If there was stuff in your template file, you can bring that over. But I think we all know you've got to have control of your file.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on here that would want to work in a Revit file that you don't have control? You got 14 people working on, and there's just a total lack of control.
I'll show up to get paid and just fix things. It's trying my best, but
So you don't you've had to punch the grindstone. You've had to do that. Did you enjoy doing that?
it's not as much fun. Of course, I like the job all to myself, but
I
you got to have a team. You got to have a team. It's nice when your team are really experienced. So
Yeah, well, I think that what I'm saying and what you're saying, both things can be true. What I'm saying is you have to have the control of that file. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to decide how to split the file. Right. And we're going to end up definitely hitting into that later is how do we split that file? And I'll tell you, it's a little bit like the template thing. So how many templates did he have, Mikey? Did he have 1,000 templates? Because I can think of 1,000 templates that I would need. I would need this thing for if it was wood stud and masonry exterior. I would need this thing. I would need a different template if I was going to be doing concrete. How many templates did he have? Mikey might have stepped away. How many templates do you think he would have, Eric? Misty, you have any idea? That's the part that
I'm
gets.
sorry. I was talking. I was on mute. I apologize. Uh,
Oh, tell
my
us what you.
I coughed, so I turned it off. But he had an image on his screen,
Yeah.
and the text was so small you couldn't read anything on it. That's how many templates that he had. I would have to guess probably about 300.
Oh gosh.
And of course, you click on one of those, files, whatever, and he clicked on it, and you scroll down, and you remember how you said a long time ago, like you had one of your girls deleting some of those filters out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
You would be deleting for hours. So anyway, it was a lot.
Yeah, well, that's what tends to happen is you get this little residue from when you made the templates, and the problem is I'm sure he had so much pride in making those templates because it probably was a very daunting task, and he did a Herculean effort to make all of those templates, because I know that I've had multiple people that I was training that's what they wanted me to do was create their templates.
Right.
If you don't understand where you go off, you make that file bloat, number one, but more importantly, when you made 300 templates, if you got to make any changes, you're talking about a daunting task, and you're never going to get it exactly complete. Go make that adjustment in every template. So how does that end up really helping you? You make me real happy knowing what you said, which is you build what you need, you put in what you need, you get what you need. So maybe that's where we switch over. I don't think that's a terrible time. That's about a half-hour rant. And I'm going to get a feel for it. We're going to go, let's see. This will take me just a second. Bear with me. You guys can talk. Uh, Stop that screen, percent, share. All right. That was from my exercise yesterday. What I need to get is from my buddy Mike. Oh gosh, when was that? Last Friday. Is anybody good at email? I feel like I stink. Oh, that was a good one. Matter of fact, I'd rather start with that one. Misty, you got Revit open.
I do.
Cool.
Oh, wait a minute.
Let's
Yeah. Let me move it to
let's
the main
all give
screen.
this a try.
Mm.
It said to prevent Revit from automatically adding a flange to an elbow when placing it, go to your project settings, navigate to mechanical settings tab, and then under piping, uncheck the box, add flanges to fittings. All right. So if you everybody open up a mechanical file, maybe Mike
Okay.
can try to explain this better to us, the problem he was having.
Well, so I was trying to get flanges only at the end of piping where I was maybe placing valves into the line or into the system, and you can toggle through on your pipe type and add the flanges. But if you do, you get a flange on your elbows, your T's. I mean, you name it, it gives you flanges on everything. And you try to delete those flanges and you rejoin the pipe, it puts it right back on there.
All right, so
So,
that's something we got to figure out together.
I have a way that I used to do that when I did that. So,
All right, that's what
I
I
mean, I would,
figured.
yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, just a way.
Mike's question was this here, which should be, how do you do this? So go to your project settings, navigate to the mechanical settings tab. Where is that at? Where are they talking about?
Under manage.
Under manage,
I think it's under systems, I believe.
MEP settings.
It
that's
says
where I
manage, and then I don't know
Mechanical
this.
settings.
Mechanical settings.
It's under systems, and then click on the little fly out arrow with beside pipe plumbing and piping.
So it's not on this. It's not on this one here that I'm on. MEP
It
Hey,
could be
pick
settings.
that
that
one
one.
as
Pick
well,
that
but
MEP. Yeah, pick that. Right there. That's the one
yeah,
I
but
know about.
the other way to go is if you go to your systems tab,
Okay.
Oh,
it'll take you to the same place. Go to
It'll
your
take
systems
you to the
tab,
same place.
and you go down where it says plumbing and piping, and you got the little arrow down at the bottom.
Yep, that is the same window.
right takes you to the same place.
All right, and then you're saying you're going down to
Pipe settings, something like that.
Pipe fitting. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Pull the Google thing back up.
all right.
Okay. Now he said pipe fitting.
Uncheck the box next to add flanges to fittings.
Mm-hmm. Show me what you're working with.
Oh, the flanges, the fittings, the flange. That's in the pipe system. I mean, that's where you pick the elbow that you want. You also say whether it's flanged or not.
Correct.
So where are you going to that one? I don't know shit where you're going.
Well, so
Well, we were trying to go to where they said to go, but what you're now talking about is you're talking about this guy here, where you go edit type and you go to routing preferences.
correct.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Where it says flange at the bottom, where it says none, change that. Well, yeah, you gotta.
You
You
got
got to
those
have
ones.
a flange in there.
Right.
And then that way it keeps adding flanges.
But it puts them everywhere. So how do you keep it just off the like elbows, for instance?
Well, what I do, if I need a flange at my valve, I'll keep all the pipes, on a system that says no for the flange, and then I'll have one pipe that is a flange, and I'll switch that one pipe to that flange. I'll break it, get rid of the extra flange, and then just take that flange to the valve, and you're done. It won't put flanges anywhere.
Mm.
That's what I showed you to do.
But it still doesn't put a flange at like the first 90 once you change that pipe type.
It won't. It won't. It hasn't to me. So you have to see maybe something different.
But the spot where it was going to, and I like what you said, Eric, was underneath systems. You went to this one and went to the same doggone thing.
Wow, I didn't know you
There
could
is
do that.
supposed to be a checkbox, and the only checkbox I see is that one.
Well, I didn't ever saw anything about flanges in here either.
No, no.
It doesn't tell you or specify what version the Google is giving you information for, but I'm in 2022 and I never found anything.
No.
So
Well,
thanks for making me not feel so bad.
yeah. I think that Misty, if there's any way you could pull up so that you could share your screen, because remember that's sort of the idea, is when we get one of these things like that and you start, you don't have to do it right now by all means. This is just what I'm saying. That's how I end up wanting to end up running this thing, is when someone has a question. And
Mhm.
as I'm continuing, if there's any way that we can either look into solving that problem, if you feel that you have a viable solution, because that's where I think the real power comes in, is if we have multiple ideas for that viable solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to that next email. But if either, if anyone has an idea how to help Mike with the flanges, if you got something that sort of works, I'll be honest, Mike.
Yes, sir.
You have to really grasp why the flanges are added to your project. And I'm sure in the exact template that you would need, it would all be set up perfectly for you and you would have no problems. But why do you see flanges being added to a pipe system? In other words, if you were going to try to teach the computer how to do this for you, why would flanges be put onto a pipe system? Anyone, and I'll take anyone's answer because I know all of you guys know this answer, right? We add those flanges where we have a piece of a pipe accessory, a valve or something like that, that we're going to need to take off and service or potentially replace or do something like that. But we also need to add flanges somewhere else. And that's going to be often where the spool changes,
Yeah,
right?
quite possible.
Right. And where else would you need flanges? I'm just anybody. That's open to anybody. Where else can you think of that you've had to draw that you needed flanges other than those two reasons? Sometimes everything is flanged, right? Some pipe
Yeah.
systems, everything is flanged. And you see what I think Autodesk sort of does what Autodesk does is they didn't realize about the time that some pipes are only using those flanges in those couple instances. So, one of the things that I've had great success doing is in the valve, I have a little checkbox. If that thing needs a flange on one end or a flange on the other end, and it turns it on right there at the valve.
Right.
Now, the reason I had to make it so it could turn on one end and turn off on the other end is if that valve was coupled to another piece that was a piece of flanged equipment, because then you would need another flange. Right?
Well, I mean, like if you have, say that there's some instances where I've had a flange with a valve with an actuator and a valve with a handle on it, and they've got them butted together to
Right.
where that situation.
That's what I'm talking about. That's when you wouldn't need that flange
Well, you
that
still have to
goes.
have 4 flanges there.
Yeah, But what I'm talking about is, you know, the piece that's the flange, the flange that they weld to the piece of pipe.
Right.
That's the one that I don't like to put in. I like to be able to say, oh, I need a flange at the first end or the second end of my elbow, my T, or my accessories.
Yeah.
And then all I had to do is I could go to those and say, oh, this one I'm missing a flange on the one side, and I didn't have to play the game that Misty played, because I will tell you, I've had the experience you had where it's like, oh, you bastard, if you had that damn flange one more time, I'm going to kill you. So typically, what I would be saying is, where we talked about adding that flange, right? Edit, and I don't have any flanges in mind, but right here's where you would add it, and
Right.
you would make the rule of what size if you were really getting good.
Well, you can share my screen for a second if you want to.
What's that?
If you want, I've got my screen up, I believe, anyway.
All right, coming at it.
So, and kind of like what Misty was talking about. So I've got kind of like this right here, just one pipe system and another one, with the flanges. So in other words, if I take and add that in there, it does this right here. But if I select this pipe type, create similar, every single time I get all these flanges, which would not be the case. Versus if I say select this pipe type.
Well, and see, the idea is that that elbow that you're getting in there, you would need a flanged elbow. See, that's not even adding the flanges correctly, because it's only adding one flange, and we never have one flange. You would have a flange that's going onto the pipe, and then you would have a flange that's going onto the fitting.
Correct.
Right?
So Mike, so Mike, go to that one pipe that's next to the ball valve and switch him to the flange one. No, not on that one, the other one. The other pipe system to the far left. Isn't the one you want? That not the correct one right there?
Right, so this one right here?
Yep, then switch it to the flange one. And then now break it pipe right before the valve.
Hey, cover me for a little bit. I'm going to step away.
No, break the pipe.
Oh, you said break the pipe.
Yeah, because that's how I join the pipe all the time. Just break it, split it, just split it. Great. Delete that pipe, little pup, and the extra flange, and then pull the flange to the valve. And that's how I do it.
Well, what about on that side right there? So if I did.
No, well, you guys switch the pipes to system first.
Pipe first. I'm with you. So oops. Switch that over to this. I gotcha. That doesn't attach to there. Okay.
Yeah, I always do it with the flange. Yep.
That's how I used to do it back when I worked with you guys, when I worked in the field, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, this, like I said, because this right here obviously is something that'll never happen right there. And, of course, you think about okay, well, I'll just delete that right there, but then even if I change these two pipe types, let's see what happens if I did that. Yeah, it just automatically gets rid of the flanges.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if I reconnect that, puts the flanges right back in there. Okay, I see what you're doing here, though. I like that because that's a lot better than what I've been doing. Because what I've been doing is, for instance, I'll grab this thing right here and I'll put, that in here. And I'm just rotating this now because that way I can see it better. And I would literally slide that back, and I would slide that right there back. And then I
did that. Yep, I did that. I did so much stuff, and I finally figured this out.
Oh, that's the cap.
Yeah.
And then
there were flange on there, right?
Yeah. Let's see, here we go. And then of course do that, then do this, and then suck this thing up here, and then suck this up here. But the chance of that sucker, blowing even off of there a lot of times happens as well. So
yeah, if you have to adjust the pipe in any fashion, then everything starts to jump off on you.
Exactly.
Which is a pain. Yeah. So it's too smart for us.
But yeah, I mean, some of this right here was just getting crazy. I guess I do have some situations where I do have this happening, but you know, like Brian said right there, ultimately there would be a flange on the T here, and a flange on this side, so that way you
No,
move this,
it would
you
just
know.
be a. I don't think it would be a. Uh, that one would just. Oh, because you're right. Because if it's a flange on a flange, you're right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if
Yeah,
it's a
that's just
flange T, it would be flange pipe. Yeah,
right, right. So,
yeah.
but like, you know, when would you ever realistically in the working in the field remove an elbow only? You know, so I mean, it's typically where your ball valve goes bad, or your piece of, you know, whatever valve it is, you know, goes bad, or motor or whatever. So, you know, okay, yeah, I do like that. That's pretty cool. So I just do this, then add this in here. And then rotate that sucker so I can see my little pieces right there. And then you're saying just trim it right there and right there. Oops, I did it again, didn't I? Dadgummit. Change this, change that to the other pipe type. And then trim this and this. Yeah, that works a lot faster than trying to do what I was doing. Perfect. I love it. All right. Now what y'all want to talk about? And see, like with Siskiyou, what I guess, and like I said, I guess everybody with Siskiyou and stuff like that, they have all this awesome stuff, you know, that's you know, part of their systems and everything. But it's like to try to go in here and figure out exactly what it is you need or what you don't need, gets to be kind of tedious.
Are the
And I
hangers, do the hangers set up in Siskiyou function a little bit better now?
They really do, and I know this is kind of sad to say, but you could put a hanger, um, even in here, for instance, like if you go to support. Well, actually, let me do this here first. Let me draw some pipe. If I draw some pipe, pretty much has to be Siskiyou piping first before you actually go through there. Of course, you love the fact how I ended up having to get myself a bigger monitor at work because, man, I'm gonna tell you what, you can't. By the time you have all the menus up and everything else, you're reduced so much with a screen size. It's
You
kind
got
of,
a postage stamp drawing space.
yeah, it's just absolutely silly. Um, yeah, it's been a while since I've done this, unfortunately. Let's see. Oop, why you go away? Okay, size. No, that's not it. Dark pipe. I thought that there was a button where you actually just put like one hanger at a time on there.
What are the hangers made with? Are they made as as a family? Are they made as assembly? Do you know?
Not quite sure. Select the model. No. Well, that's interesting. So you can apply it to selected model even if you wanted to. So it could be referenced in here if you wanted it. That's hanger by elements. I'm trying to figure out though, like I see supports configuration is below. Manage configuration. Well, what the heck? Fittings. Accessory brand custom. Jeez, like it's been so long. But what I was doing was ultimately you could place a hanger onto the Siskiyou pipe, like say whatever size is, if it's 2 inches, or you could always change it to, you know, 6 inches or whatever it is. Of course, it didn't like that at all. Um, but then you could take that because it's not smart. I mean, it's not a smart hanger. It doesn't hang on to this piece of pipe. Then you could
Uh-huh.
take and copy and paste it around to any other pipe that's in your model, and you can modify the length of it and you know, all kinds of things with it.
You can modify whether it hangs off the top or the bottom.
Oh yeah, anything. So because it's not linked to this piece of pipe or to that piece of ductwork. So I'm trying to see now. Here goes. Let's see. What is that right there? No. So when you click on that right there, that's not it. Gateway tray, conduit. So those are the different ones. Maybe I just don't have anything loaded in here for it. Oh, let's see. Place hangers. No. Oh, I don't know. So when's Brian coming back?
Yeah, he put me on the spot. I just walked into that meeting yesterday, and he's like, "Can you take over?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what you're doing." He said, "Just rant."
Just rant. Placement opportunity. I still want to go there. Use default hangers and rod length. We'll go with that. Place hanger.
So did Trimble buy the electrical add-on package too?
I'm not quite sure. I believe so.
I was trying to look up what it was called. I think it was called Evolve, maybe.
Well, I think Evolve is still its own program. I think they're looking to acquire Evolve, but I'm not.
I looked up electrical add-in, and the first thing that showed up was Trimble.
Gotcha.
Siskiyou. Okay.
What's up?
Nothing. I need you to come back and then take over.
You need me to come back and take over?
Yeah, we're quit hiding. Misty.
Hiding. I was getting hung up on by my daughter.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, have you ever experienced that?
nope, I don't have a daughter.
Yeah, well, you'll get it eventually. Sons do it too. They all do it.
My son's flawless. He's perfect. He doesn't do me like that.
My poor daughter's trying to plan a wedding. And she's trying to jam it into an unexpected deadline. You know what happens when you commit to a deadline that you shouldn't commit to?
What's that?
Oh man, come on. You know, that's absolute frustration, make you want to cry.
Yeah.
Right? How's the casino going? Have you heard anything?
Well, they let everybody go yesterday.
No. Are you serious?
I don't want to talk about this right now.
All right.
So anyway.
All right. To be continued.
There you go.
Deadlines that you can't meet are impossible to meet. Right? That's all I was trying to say. So how would we go about creating? What I was trying to find was this, and then I needed to go by name. All right. I need that creature. This is the one you need, right?
Yes, sir.
We all know what we'd do is we'd go here and we'd go snipping, and we'd take this snipping tool. Did you see any of my drawing my house? I can't believe how much plans they actually have up there. It's pretty cool. But what you need to do is have the ability for the person to walk through it. And you could really do that so easily. Matter of fact, that wouldn't be a bad way to approach those people if they had those Revit files. You could turn all that stuff into Twin Motion and make those little linkable walkthroughs. Let's see, training, new folder, valves. Right, we make a top view of it. Then why is that not scrolling? Oh, you got to click on it probably, yo. The things we do for our friends, Mikey.
I know it.
Oh, we crop that bugger out. We save him as a side. Now go back to our Revit. And what we decide you wanted that as a piece of pipe accessory or as a plumbing fixture or a piece of mechanical equipment.
Well, I was saying mechanical equipment, but I think you were saying that it'd be better so something else.
I think I said at that time plumbing fixture, but I think I would actually do it as a pipe accessory.
Okay.
Let's see if we came in here. We had to create similar. We edit that family.
If that gets too loud in the background, just let me know.
Trying to think whether I would start with something like this. And I don't think I would because it has these lookup tables. Everyone knows about lookup tables. Anyone feel as though they're an expert in lookup tables? Anyone feel like it'd be
I'd
interesting?
rather never look at a lookup table again.
Well, remember they embedded them now. They've now embedded in the Revit file, so it's not as big a problem. See, when I go to manage lookup table, I can actually export that table. So you no longer have to have the table with the file. Okay. So that problem was solved. But it was a bad problem for a long time. Me personally, I think you really could make these as lookup tables and make them work pretty cool. Let's actually see how it works. See if I can show you why I don't typically go the other route. So if I say file new, I make a new family and I go my preferred way, which is to make a generic model. The only thing I would recommend from what I could see on that last one, so let's see right here, view. Is that it? Nope. That guy. Do you see how when I go to the top view, do you see how they draw this pipe going through here? One of these is the primary and one of these is the secondary. And that's really what the whole key is when you create your piece of equipment that I was about to make. Okay. So let me take that. Oh gosh. So this new guy, what I'm saying to you is the most important thing is I would recommend is that you draw that your connectors are going on this direction and you start with your first connector at your left and your second at your right. If you've ever noticed when you sometimes stick a family in, that it comes in at a weird location. That's what I'm trying to resolve with this. But I think what we'll do is we'll just do a little bit of a test. So if I took this and I said window tile, now if I opened up, this is my reference level. If I opened up the 3D for this view, I put the reference level down here, and then I need a front view. And doesn't matter, probably a right view. All right. So we can now take that thing that we were working on, training valves. We can put the top in this view just to get it close. We'd scale that to 8 inches. So one of the things that's a really good idea is when you're going to be working on a valve, and this is where the guy would tell you one of his million templates, is you should really go to manage units, project units. And when you're working, and the other reason this is beneficial is, have you ever noticed that when some families, when you try to edit their instance parameters, they're just automatically in inches? So if you just take this guy here to be inches, then where the heck is inches? Decimal inches is usually what I do. And I go to 2 decimal places. Sometimes I'll do fractional inches. And you see, I really should have went to 3 decimal places. So if I go annotate, draw a line just to double check, this should be 8 inches. A little bit big. Doesn't matter. So more than likely, this thing has a 16-inch takeout if that guy's going that direction, or an 8-inch, or actually they end up being flush, right? If we looked at that in the front view, it's always best to get the biggest dimension. I would go after that 40. 40.06, huh? 40.06. Now, my recommendation is I would be ignoring those legs. Okay. The legs we're going to put on secondary as a nested family so that we can stretch the legs to be what they need to be. And this actually just goes in the pipe because they're not really prescribing to you how far the pipe should be up off of there. Correct?
Right.
Right. So create, revolve. You see this one, right? Right, that's going to go up here. This is one of those spots you want to be real careful. If you go like this, what's going to happen is you won't get that extra line at the top that you need. It'll sort of disappear and look a little bit goofy. So my recommendation is you go with a 3-point and you don't go to where it snaps to that tangent point. You go just shy of that. It's going to give me a line around there. And I could close out my line, trim this up. Right? Now we get that stupid lid on top.
Mm.
He don't look fun, does he?
No.
I personally would probably create an extrusion. I'd come from here and I'd go out to there. Then this is unusual. I'd do a rotate copy. I'd place my base point and I'd go 120 degrees. And then I'd mirror it around that line so I have the backbone for what I'm about to draw. That makes sense? Then
It looks like you need to move the PDF just up just a little bit to center it, right?
yeah, I don't typically try to draw that accurately. That's why I drew that backbone geometry that I just drew.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Then I'd probably draw this fella, which it looks like we got a straight line there. And then another straight line. What do you mean? What?
Sick of my mom. What happened to the power? Stuff went off.
What power?
Everything went off.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Everything blew away. I thought the power went off.
No. And that's actually not even really good, is it? Because really, this piece of geometry needs to come around there.
It doesn't look like that top is centered around the pipe.
Oh, it is 120, right? Man, you would fill it.
Why is the north side of it so tight to the round part? And the south side is not. You got like a gap.
This hole is a through hole.
I'm talking about the piece that goes around. Oh, on the north side, around your two round circles in the middle that are centered in the thing, you have that triangle shaped thing on top. The north side is like right up on the round part. The south side has like an inch gap, it looks like. I'm talking about the heavier black lines, the ones you're tracing over right now with the purple.
Yeah.
That does not look symmetrical about the round thing in the middle.
That's because the image isn't centered on there.
But shouldn't you center it on there before you start tracing it?
Well, I'm not tracing. All I did was basically get this. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm starting to debate whether this might have been a smarter move to go to a polygon and make it a three-sided polygon and just come out here and do this. Yeah. And that's what sets everything up. All I was trying to do was create this right here. See, by me getting these three lines, right? I should now be able to mirror that around there and mirror that around there. And all I have to do is draw that closing line. And so I wouldn't have my line weights off. What scale am I at? A half? Which way would I want to go to see some line weight? I don't think the line weight's showing up correctly. Who cares? I should just have to draw that object. And up here, what we've got that object would really have a little bit of a slot. You take those two lines and you mirror them around this. In other words, when I see the repetitive geometry, that's typically what I would do. Then I would take all of this corner, not quite all of the corner, all of that corner, and mirror it here. Get rid of these three lines. Finish my extrusion. This is where, and I don't say that it's a problem, but since they have an actual dimension for this, sort of, I would probably come in here and I would put a reference plane. Click on the name it to be top, so that I don't have to do what Mike always ends up doing, which is just releasing the work plane. Instead, I edit the work plane and throw it up on the top. And now you're going to see it's up there, right? Then from there, I can do my stretch, and you see where it went to. And that really goes somewhere to about there. By all means, you can then put in a real number, right? That's all this thing is. What the next part of it is where it gets a little bit tricky. Because when I look at this, I would definitely say that those eyelets, I would make one of those eyelets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Misty's back.
Sorry, my battery wasn't plugged up. I thought the power went out.
Your battery, oh, your laptop wasn't plugged up.
Yeah, I was moving stuff around yesterday. I forgot to plug it up. Good. Cool.
So let's see, how big is it on that screen? So it could be a little bit bigger, but I think that ought to be good enough. How about what we do is this? File, save as, family. Not valve. What is this? This is a filter.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do one more. You can't do a drafting view in here, can you?
No.
Do you have any more data in that? Yep, you had that PDF. I'll just forward this to Misty. And Eric. Humor me, guys, if you would. I just sent you that. The PDF. There's a helicopter flying over something.
Must be looking for another person. Last couple of weeks they were chasing that other guy. I'm looking out the window.
That's right. We got chasing robbers.
Mm.
I think. Didn't you send me a picture of this thing? I think you did. Yep. Pretty sure that's it.
Yep, that's it. Well, similar.
So this one has the NPT up here on a valve. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Up here, that piece right there. See how there's a valve and then there's that air connection?
Mm-hmm.
On the one we're looking at, it's just that air connection. Straight into it with no valve. But that's probably just showing right here. This is probably not in the scope of their work, but you probably want that in there.
Correct.
Would you want to track that valve?
No.
No. Okay. So can everybody see clearly? You should be able to see clearly enough. This just looks like this is a piece of angle that goes down to a little base plate. Can you make me one of those, Eric, right on that same location or centered right around there? It's centered right around that body. And Misty, if you can make me one of these eyelets.
Okay.
And if you'll just then save that and send it back to me, I'll work on making this elbow and this elbow.
Am I making that to be that diameter, or am I making that to be adjustable?
You were making the legs?
Yeah, the round part that clips on. Am I making that to be a part so that it's adjustable in diameter?
So the only adjustment that I need is I need to be able to adjust the length of that guy.
Up and down.
And I'm going to need that to be an instance parameter, but I just need the top attached and the bottom attached. I don't mind throwing that parameter on there once we get it in. So, question I would have in making that bottom piece. We'd really like this to be able to rotate. Wouldn't we, Mike?
Yes, sir.
As we talked about, where they'll sometimes hook them up in the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can do that is to put a nested family in there so that you can rotate that nested family. I can't think of a way to flex that to go the other direction.
So you start like you build another whole separate family and then load it into this family?
That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing another family here. Okay. So first thing that I would see that I would do is I would create a new family, and I'd make this guy one of my generic model based. Face-based. Not to be confused with a face-based that goes into the project. So now this thing here, I would just simply take a couple dimensions from. All I really need to know is this guy appears to be drawn. Oh, annotate, detail line, symbolic line. 3¼ inches. Six and a half. Okay. So if what I do is in this guy here, which only has one view opened up, I'd want to go to its front elevation, and I want to create a sweep with a sketch path that goes up 6.5 and over 6.5. He's just going to be an arc. Take these two creatures away. Before you put your path on, but before you put your profile on, you come grab this guy and drag it down. The reason I did that is now in my reference level, I can see that path and I can then finish my path. And when I go to make my profile, right, edit the profile. Now, by all means, it's really a good idea if this profile comes from somewhere else, but I could basically just say, by putting this dimension in and making it a parameter, pipe diameter. Now, that then means that I have the ability to change, if I go back to that front view, to change that pipe diameter. So if we don't like the pipe diameter of 2, we said it was 3.25. So I have the ability to change that, which means that it would probably also be a good idea for me to throw in a dimension here. I tab, I want to not get the level line. I don't want to get that line. I don't want to get the level line. I want to get that reference plane. I believe if you do that,
So why didn't you include the straight little piece at the end of the 90 in this?
Because I'm going to build that as another one.
Gotcha.
And then when you see how they come together, you'll be like, ah, because what I'm actually doing here, as a very good question, I'm going to key you into what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to build this thing as though it's a pipe or a pipe fitting that actually works in your piece of equipment or your pipe accessory or what it is. So gets me to a very important part I have to do is I need to change this from generic to pipe accessories. Do be cognizant for this piece, it doesn't matter, but what type of pipe it is or what the part type is. Now, I'll be honest with you. It's one of those spots. Maybe one of you guys knows more than I do. Do you know what those different things are? And realize this is where my frustration is, because even if we stretch this window for days, you never get this so that you can see anything below there. You have to scroll. We've got valve normal, valve breaks into, sensor normal, inline sensor, end cap, breaks into or attaches to. Do you guys know what those mean? Because I don't.
Nope.
Eric?
I'm gonna try the end cap. I'm gonna try the end cap one because I was trying to make a little
yeah.
And you told me I needed it. Yeah, I needed it to be an end cap.
That's what I'm telling you is we have to understand those. We're gonna have a class where we educate ourselves on what those do, because they do have some effect. I'm just leaving it at normal. Like I said, this one doesn't matter because it's going into the other one. Okay. So I'm just making it a pipe accessory. The other thing that I was going to do is I was going to set my units, because I hadn't set it in this subfamily, to the decimal inches same way. And I was going to use those 3 decimal places. All right. So if I finish that, it now means that I have that 3 1/4. So this should be working. Oh, well, you know what I think it might be? It might be, oh, this is the pipe radius. That's why.
That's what I was saying.
So really, how would you go about fixing that? Me personally, I'd probably go back to my reference level, double click once, double click twice, take this dimension, delete that dimension, come back in, throw a dimension that is a diameter, and make that diameter be my pipe diameter. You catch all that, Mr. Mike?
No, but I'm going to be able to rewind it.
All right. That that is how I would make that particular object. Now I've got something that I can actually flex. I could use this in a bunch of other jobs. Just going to load him into my last family that I'm making, or actually it was the filter. Okay. Now here's where the neat stuff happens. I just come in and I just snap him right on the bottom. Now here's the amazing part. If you wanted to make a bunch of individual ones, you see here over on the side view, see how I'm wrong? I can actually just hit the space bar and rotate. I should also be able to, in this plan view, move it. Do you see how the two reference planes are now highlighted? Now I know I'm right in the center of my object. Now, also, I have the ability to, if I don't want that to be a 6-inch sweep, if I change that, see how that pulled that back? We could pull that all the way back. Make sense? So now what I do is I go to my families, and I have this pipe accessory in this one named family. And this is actually just going to be an elbow. And if I've done this little bit of work, I can make this thing. I typically say, yep, Brian, this is parametric. Okay. You could say, I want to name that a 3 1/4 inch by 6. You could try to give it those numbers. I only need it for that one function, and I only wanted it so that I could be able to rotate him. And that's going to become clear in a second, but I do need to check one thing. Does anybody have an idea how we would flip that bugger? If I put an angular dimension on it from here to that object, and I make that object in a parameter, outlet, angle, all right, so need to hide this for a second. That means that we really would want to, that's where the problem is, right there. You'd want to get that to the line. How would you, does anyone have an idea on how you would rotate that bottom, or is that going to be new to everyone?
You mean as far as with a parameter?
Yep.
I would definitely center it and lock it in the spot. And then,
well, see what I'm having as a problem.
Visibility parameter, instead of making it rotate, just have one shut off and one turn on.
Well, see, I think what happens right now, if I change that angle, I think what I'm going to find, let's say I wanted to go to a 30-degree angle, that I think will work. Okay.
Wow. Cool.
If I go to -90, see? If I go to 0 or to 90,
Wow.
That would break. If you remember what I showed you yesterday, it was like we had to write all that little tricky stuff in order to get that to rotate. But the second I make it a face-based family, do you see how that controlled? So now what we do is that outlet angle, because to me, that's not a parameter someone should be really messing with. I'm going to move that parameter down into what's the other. Sometimes I put them in construction if I really want people to change them. But what we're going to do now is we're going to make a new parameter. And it's going to be flip outlet. Okay. That's going to be an instance parameter. I'm going to throw that as a yes, no. Yes, no. And I'm going to put that, like I said, in construction. So it's at the top of my list. What that is going to do for me is then I'm going to say right here, if the flip outlet is yes, so I'm going to take the word flip outlet. It also means that I need to move that one parameter in a second. You're going to see that if I try to type this in and I hit enter, it's going to say inconsistent units. That wasn't what I was
Your
looking for.
instance. Yeah.
Well, what I know that I got to do even before that is it's got to be that instance, just like Misty was saying. This guy has to be an instance, because in order for me to put an instance and the formula of a parameter, it has to be an instance as well. Okay. And now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, pretty sure it's written like this. If Control V, if flip outlet, okay. And if it's true, that means if the checkbox is on, my number is going to be 90. And if it's false, it's going to be minus 90. Okay, so that's how it's written. I'm pretty sure. Let me check. And it is. So what happens now is you'll see when I turn that checkbox, it flips it 90. It flips it 90. So now if we were to apply, you would see it flipping.
That's so cool, the formulas.
Insane.
Well, that's sort of why I wanted to do these, because it was a nightmare to learn this. It was a nightmare to try to figure this stuff out. Okay. So under that exact same premise, if I've renamed that object to elbow, this guy here, which is in that, this guy, all I really need to do is draw that flange creature. So I'm going to actually delete this. And I'm going to create a revolve. What did we say? It was 3 1/4. 3 1/4. So how do I draw that guy? Well, what this is, and this is going to be an interesting one because we'll see if this works. Typically, you wouldn't be able to draw anything in here and copy and paste it over. But what I want you to test every now and then, and I'm even going to do it weird because I'm going to do it as an extrusion. But I'm going to say, if I was to basically draw what I'm seeing there, I would just trace this guy out, right? Maybe you put this lip on there, maybe you don't. I'm totally with you. But now I wasn't even in a revolve command. I was in an extrude command. But what I want you to understand, if you do a tab, I can now copy to clipboard, come back into my other project, which normally is going to say you can't do this, and I can paste that in. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So then I just rotate this as I need it. I will tell you that rotate will get off. Now here, do you move? If you were going to try to get this back over here, would you do a move and snap to there? What Revit really wants you to do is grab this line. That's going to cause you to go in that alignment. Grab this line. That's going to cause you to go in that alignment. And now you're where you need to be. Does that make sense?
Yep.
We put in our axis line. We finish. We've got one. Now, it would probably be a really nice idea if you could make that a little bit more adjustable. We're going to test something, and I'm not positive of my answer here, but what I found is if I put a reference plane in here and a reference plane in here, and actually, to be quite honest with you, most people would end up, I guess you would end up putting that reference plane, if you want to make it be able to say pipe diameter, this is what you would typically do. right? You put that dimension in, make that equal, fix your doggone scale, put another one, and then the other one's this one here. Remember, do not hit that face. Try to get that reference plane. You'll have much better effects. Okay? So now you can make this guy be a parameter. Stub length. You can name it whatever you want, but you understand where I'm going with it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we already had one for pipe diameter. So that means I just go here and make this pipe diameter. And you'll notice that that thing actually changed. So I can also test my stub length. It's also be a good place for me make sure my sweep radius, we can remove that. We no longer need that sweep radius. It's good to keep that stuff relatively clean so you don't get a buildup. But I could make my stub length 6 inches. And you'll notice, do you see how I drew the object and then I start to lay in some reference planes? If it doesn't take when you do that flex right there, sometimes what you'll have to do is take all of that pink stuff, do a control X, a control V, and then a 0. Don't ask me why, but if it doesn't attach it to those reference planes, that's what you want to do. Now, if Mike said, well, I'm worried about this distance of the flange actually gets bigger, we could put extra dimensions in there. I just challenge you to, it should be very simple, just a couple parameters to make your adjustment. Because if you ever gone in and tried to fix someone's family or work on someone else's family, when there's too many parameters, it makes the family next to worthless, right?
Correct.
Now, well, if I then push this guy into the project or into my filter, let's try that one more time. It didn't take. Load in. You would see when I go to a 3D view, I could then pop this right on the end. You could come out here to the edge of that pipe and you can type in SC and it should snap to the center. See it? Snap to the center and land right on there. Now, the beautiful thing, because that was face-based, if I do my flip outlet, that goes with it. Right? Take our flip off and adjust this length, which we have now in here, which was about 3.5. We can apply. Then all you've got is this top one. And that top one, that same face-based family, I'm pretty sure, which if I come down to families, you'll see there's one that's an elbow. And this, I'm going to call it the stub. You could call it whatever you want. If you got a better name, by all means, do it. And I typically like to name it parametric. That shows me that I've made it parametric. Then I can use it for different locations. But the question then becomes, how do I place that guy up here? And that's where I would probably go. Right? You could pick this guy and you could say create similar. You'll notice it could snap it onto here. Right? Then, believe it or not, you should be able to do this align command. Nope. Nope. maybe I wouldn't put that in there that way. Maybe I would take that guy. You put that in. See what I'm going to? That one. That then keeps it. So it's somewhere on there. Right there.
Nope.
Right?
And then you extend the neck.
And then I think I'd bring it over here and it should snap right in. And then here's where I take my dimension. And this should answer a question for a lot of people. Notice when I pick on that, I can put in my 40.06. I'm not going to make it parametric unless I need it parametric. I'm going to leave that dimension in there. See, I don't know that I've got another one of those filters, and I could go making it, oh, it's the flange offset height. But as I said, I'm not going to try to keep a lot of that stuff parametric like that. That makes sense? In other words, don't add the parameters, because look at my family. The only thing my family's going to do is ask if you want to flip it. Now, Mike, if we in building the other ones, we start seeing, oh, this is just like the last one, except it's got a 3 1/4 inch. Instead of a 3 1/4 inch pipe, it's a 2-inch pipe. So if that was the case, what I would do is, you see these guys that are parametric, you see where it says the pipe diameter?
Mm-hmm.
I would then push that and make that a parameter in my project. So I'm actually going to do that. I'll do that just for giggles to show you that in this family, I'm now going to put a pipe diameter.
You need to do that anyways for your connector. So
What's that?
you need to put that same one on your connector, your pipe connector.
If you're going to do pipe connector. So that I will carry that then to my pipe connector. But here's the one that I want you to see is you realize I just need to do it to my stub as well. And now I've made this thing so that the only thing that I've got to do yet is I got to lengthen this guy out, edit, duplicate. And I'm going to say this is probably going to be my 6-inch guy, where this is the 6-inch stub length. And this is related to the pipe diameter. Right? And it needs to be a little bit longer. 7-inch. 8-inch. 8.25. But don't get me wrong. If they've given me a dimension, I could then do the math to make it so that that dimension holds. But all I've done is now all I'm missing is those eye bolts and that bottom frame for it.
Well, it says 8 inches from the center of it, so
It says 8 inches from the center.
yeah, on the top view that you turned off.
Ah,
So that's perfect parameter.
right. Now, by all means, if I had 3 different ones and that number has to change, now I can relate all those parameters, but only put the parameters you need as you need them.
Right.
That makes sense? And then one thing we would try is I'm missing a line right there because these two objects just hit each other, and I'd probably try to join them, and they will not join. We can look in this family. There was down here, I believe in a future release, it see where it says cuts with voids? There's one that says make it's joinable. But in this case, we're going to be screwed on that, making that top little edge joinable. But I don't think that's going to kill you. No?
Nope.
The only other thing I'd probably do, and this is one that I would probably I don't see enough repetition with. But I'd probably take that guy. And I might throw a dimension. I might throw this dimension, but I doubt very highly that I would make this parametric. Right? Finish that. Look at that over here and drag that so it's just bigger than that thing. And we should now that I know, because those are both geometry in here, you can join those. And I'm telling you, in some release after 2020, you could start to join families in the family editor. Okay. So then the last thing that we've got is to put our 2 connectors on.
Can we add another one on the top of that for, I mean, just basic, like what you just did?
Oh, yeah, there was one on top. You're right. You're right.
That's a 1/2 inch one on top, I believe.
Yep. That was the one I, to be honest, would probably not add.
Why is that?
Because you're probably not running 1/2 inch line. These 2 guys, I guess we would take them. Can you not? Yeah, there it is. Make that be the pipe diameter, right? And what else will we do with it? We would change it from hydronic supply. You guys would probably be saying you want to go global.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Bidirectional. None of that I don't think it was really critical. So let's see what this guy does. If we now, oh, you had one more. You wanted that 1/2 inch NPT. Create. Extrusion. This is where, Mike, you see how that's why I made it top. You see how it's down here at the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
But I just go into my edit work plane and I then put him. I thought I made a top.
Mm-hmm. The middle one worked, wasn't it?
Edit work plane.
Okay.
Oh, right there. Reference plane top.
Hmm.
I don't know why I didn't see it. And see, then the benefit is if that top reference plane moves, all of those objects are now related to that top reference plane. And I think you can actually even do it right here. You see how my cap and everything is growing with it?
Mm-hmm.
And if Misty made her little eyelets, and Misty eyelets, really, those should be made as a face-based family. And then Eric's legs. Eric, did you get anywhere with the legs?
I sent it to you a few minutes ago.
I sent you the support, but it's not face-based.
It will be. Okay. So
Good.
I'll be honest, I think you're probably done with the images. Eric sent me the legs, huh? Oh, because I'm searching by Mikey. Date.
I just replied on the one you sent us.
That's good. Yep, I can see it now. All right, so Eric made ones called legs for filter. Eric, you want to share your screen at all, maybe? Show me what you did?
Not really, because of the.
All right, Misty, you want to do yours? You want to show me what you did? Got her off guard. Misty?
Do what?
Can you want to show us what you did with yours? And just explain what you did while I bring yours and Eric's in? Does that make sense? That way I can throw your guys' in and look at them.
Oh, well, all I did was take the image and put it here, and I did a revolve of just the revolve. This was the path, and then this was the profile. I just did it in 3D. I just made it a 1/4 inch. Right, and then I did that. And then the front, I did it in the front because I knew this thing, I couldn't do it from the top. I had to do it from the front view. And then I just did a quick revolve. I do revolves all the time. Family making. Right there. That's it.
Looks good.
And let me go ahead. Thank you. And let's go and make this thing. Wow. Oh, no, not that. Face
Oh,
base.
nope, 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 nope,
Work
no.
base.
Show me where you were at. That
What?
doesn't work. You don't want to do that. So you
Okay.
have to start with a face-based family.
Do you? Because
Uh-huh.
I did this and it goes to face based in a project. That's how I made my cap at the end. I needed that little
It's different. It's
that
different.
quick connect.
It seems like it works, but that does not work the same. That is slightly different. So
Okay.
we'll need to play with that one day to show you the difference between it. I'm going to go
Okay.
ahead and push my screen back up. So there's Misty's Islet. When I brought Misty's Islet into the project, it looked like that. This is one of those times where once again you'll see that Misty did not. She made it a regular work plane based. Okay. Now, here's the problem. Now we could take that thing and we could pick a new host. Oh, you did make it work. You did make it work plane based.
I don't remember doing that.
Always vertical.
Yeah, that makes it always vertical.
See, that thing should be telling me edit work plane.
You could have done some visibility things, just shown a circle there. But,
No. Tell me this. Did you leave an image in there?
yes, I always do.
Got to take
I
those
like to
out.
leave them in.
Well,
Let me see what happens. What's the difference?
you got it. Not only do you got to take them out, you then got to purge them as well because they're left as raster images. When we have a lot of these subfamilies, if those get dirty, if those have those images, you never go back and find them because they're subfamilies inside of a family, and all of a sudden your project size starts to grow really quickly.
I forgot to purge mine too.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm trying to find out why. Oh, I bet I know why, because it's a pipe accessory. I bet that's why that.
All my families.
So does that mean if I put a new one in and I come up here, it put it on the ground too?
Because I made it at 0. So, yeah.
I'm a little bit confused where I'm definitely off somewhere. That's
Just go
not
into
what
section view and move it up. Put it in the center and section view, move it up, and it's there.
Yeah, but that's not what I want. I want it to be hosted to that line up there. I want it to actually be.
You can say pick.
So you
Yeah,
can pick
the
new,
host.
you can pick new host. No, it doesn't allow you to pick that.
Work plane based. It won't say edit work plane on that thing when you right click on it.
In the family is where you're talking about work plane based right here.
No, I was just thinking on the right click on that thing. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes in that project you can say right click and change the work plane on it. Pick
Now I do a create similar. Now I have the place to place it on a work plane or on a face. And if I pick the face, I could pick that face. I could then bring this out here, and you'll notice with the reference planes, it's snapping to those locations. And then that last one, if you just watch, when you got a 120-degree one, what you want to do is you want to do a rotate with a copy, then place the center point, and then go 120. That would make sense. But why would it get rotated at that angle? That's interesting. Your family's acting a little bit unusual that I'm not expecting, and I'm wondering why. And it might be because you started with that template. But now those
With the
eyelets,
generic model. Yep.
there. Notice how the one did not get attached. See how the one. But neither one of those got attached.
I would just
So
lock them to that shape.
I want to try something. I want to go back to your actual family, which is this one, and I want to go into my plan view. Right. I want to grab those objects, and I want to do a Control C. I then want to
Nope.
go to my family.
Generic model. Not happening.
This one here, and I want to go to the plan view. You know, we won't need these reference planes. We won't need this, but I should be able to Control V, and then I should be able to move from the center to there. Take those two parameters out. Say okay. Load this into my filter. That means I did not rename something. What did I not rename?
Mine's open pipe accessory. Mine was called support.
Now, if I come back to my reference level, that's support. This one's stub. That's where my problem is, because stub was already named. So I'm going to put a little X behind this guy. So when I put stub in there now, it should allow me to get to that face up top, right? And see, the benefit of doing this is what you couldn't do, and you need to think about when you're making these subfamilies. If you want to be able to rotate that thing so that you could stick it somewhere else on the side of something else or on the end of something else, you see how that's one of those reasons it's beneficial. Because
That face base or
that little
cuts.
pilot,
Yep.
what that?
What's it called? What was the name of that family? It cuts with. No. What did we say about that family that made it do that?
That was a generic model, face-based is what you need to start out with.
But that's working good right there. I mean, I like that. So.
Well, that's because I pushed your stuff into a face-based family. I made a brand new family. Right now, it's called stub. See, that works differently than what yours does. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And see, this is how I'm used to working in this. When I bring that over, let's just see if I do that rotate. That's my real test on whether or not this thing works. 120. Right? And then mirror it. So now I've done a rotate copy and a mirror. And now what I'm going to do is test to see if it's linked. You see how it's all linked? See how it all moves together?
Face-based, huh? Okay.
That's the file, new family, I've always told you to start with a generic model. I'm telling you that generic model face baits are good for the families that are inside of the family because they allow us to be able to rotate them around. And
And
the families that we need to make for these subfamilies are pieces of structural steel. We need to make channels. We need to make those things that make up a hot water skid. We need to make each of our pipe fittings. We need to make a T. We need to make an elbow. We need to make a blind flange. And then you can make your hot water skids with these little face-based families. And it's like a way to draw pipe inside of a family, which is so frustrating because you really just wish you could draw pipe inside a family. Have you ever tried to draw a hot water skid or some kind of flocculator or something? You're like, I just want to draw a couple pieces of pipe and put elbows in them. But you can't do that because Revit's never enhanced the family editor. Does that make sense to everyone? Enough of that. Good. Enough of that. So all we need now is the legs. Let's see if we close all one open views. I think we're gonna get rid of that one. Oh. And we'll get rid of this guy. Nope. And we'll get rid of this guy. All right. So now all we got is Eric's legs, which he said he didn't clean up, so we'll need to take that image and do that purge out of there as well.
I deleted the image. I just forgot to purge it.
That's fine. I need to figure out how your thing is working. Notice how when I drag a family into a family, it'll never insert it like it does into a project. Instead, what it'll do is it'll open it. Okay. You just can't get it to drag and drop like you normally can. So there went your thing. And this parameter here was an instance parameter.
Yep.
Yep. So if I load that into my filter, I should be able to put that right there. And in the front view, I should be able to see those legs. Okay, so perfect thing happened to Eric because you didn't realize this. Notice how when I look at your thing,
Yep. You started your reference plane is at the center of the pipe, not at the base of the floor.
yep, but I'm saying I don't have my bottom grip pull here. Notice that?
Uh-huh.
You see how I only have the grip pull at the top of that family?
Is that because I went to the reference plane and not the level line?
I think it's the opposite. I think this guy here actually went to the level line.
No, I'm positive to get the
We're gonna test. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that's what I found. No. So let's try going to the level line.
Looks like you blew out the instance parameter.
do I need to stretch it? I mean, oh yeah, we need to. You really only need to stretch the top, right?
Now it doesn't go at all. See? So that's what I had experienced before. And what we're getting more than likely. So if we went back to your other one, like you had it, make that go to the top of legs, load that into the project. I may be wrong about this one. That's giving me the grip handle at the top. And what I want to test is I want to load this into an actual project to see what happens. Project 3. Anybody know why that's grayed out?
Generic model.
Because
No.
that is extremely weird, Eric. Why I don't see both of those. I would be expecting to see both grip handles.
I mean, I did it as a generic model. It's not face-based, obviously.
It's not. Well, no, I was hoping it wouldn't be face-based.
Did you join them together in your model?
Nope.
No.
No, that shouldn't matter.
You think you just push this thing up off that reference plane, add a new reference plane, and then put a dimension to that if you want to put instances on the both sides of this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. No doubt.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would copy this line down. I would call this line the floor. I would take this guy and say that he's. See, that is really weird what's going on. There's something going on that I'm not used to when I got those files from you guys. I don't
Maybe
understand why
the
you
floor
say
line.
that.
Maybe it's the floor line. It just doesn't want you to go past the floor line.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, see, I would expect to be able to pick this. How do I rehost that object? All right, I'm going to try to explain this to you. So if I make a new family, and you might have to show me how you made those. But if I make a brand new generic model, is that how you guys both started?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to just make an extrusion. And then I'm going to go into that front view. And I'm going to draw a reference plane. I'm going to put a dimension from here to here. You know what? I think I know where it is, and it's going to be very frustrating. I think I know where it is. Then we make that into a parameter. Length of legs. And you made it a type parameter. Oh, no, you made it an instance parameter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing you would do is have to associate that. So we're all agreed with that. That should come in. And my theory is I should have that double grips.
You know what I didn't do, Brian? I don't know that I took the extrusions of the angle pieces, the leg pieces, and I don't think I attached them to the reference level at the bottom, or that reference plane at the bottom. So in other words, the extruded piece is not attached at the bottom, so therefore it's not getting the grip.
Yeah, just bear with me for a second, because that's not what I'm expecting to happen.
Well, it's because you're tying it down at the bottom. You're only having the dimension go up, right?
That must be. That must be. So to answer your question, if I created another reference plane, and said this was the bottom. And I took the length of legs.
Now it'll work all day long.
That's what it needed to have happen. Well, watch the difference. Project 3.
Because you're ultimately telling it, hey, from the floor level up is what you wanted to use it from. So it didn't give you grips because of that, right?
My guess is more than that. More than that. If I pick that one reference plane, that one right there is the one I made, right? He's a weak reference. What is this guy? He is not a reference, and he defines the origin. And if it defines the origin, if you're dimensioning the one that defines the origin, that's what makes it so there's only one grip handle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what's happening. If your dimension goes to, so if I had a dimension going in the horizontal direction, if it went to this one here because it defines an origin, I bet it would only give you one grip handle. However, when I put mine in, it sure enough does say pick new host. It sure enough does. When I'm placing it, is it how I'm placing it? No. That part doesn't make any sense. I should be seeing, and I'm curious if the reason it's doing that, I almost guarantee you this is the case, is because, no,
Well, it's referencing 0, right?
I think the floor line is very smart. It thinks you're going to put it on the floor. Smart.
yeah. I think you'd almost have to put another one in. I think in this case, what I would probably do is put another one of these guys in. How do I get it to go to that level? How do I get that to be hosted to that bottom work plane, Eric? Why am I frozen on this?
What do you mean?
In other words, when I go to put your stand in, put an object in, why can I not change it to go to another level? Why does it
I don't
only
know.
go to? Why does it
Because
only
you
go
only
to?
have one level in there.
That is so bizarre. That is so freaking bizarre. Does it do the same thing with the generic model? It does. And I think that's because of what kind of family this is. Wow. What if you say this guy and you say pick new host? There's no way for me to push it. I don't understand what I've done wrong, but I'm going to have to come back and revisit this. But as far as for a solution, what we could do, we could leave this All right. We'll take that guy. Hold on. We'll take that guy. We'll copy him. No, we'll create similar so that he comes in correctly. Take these two guys in case they've been moved and delete them off. Take this and bring this over. Put that around there. Now, the only thing I want to do is change the location of those legs. And the way I said that I would do that is I would take these guys here and make them go to a new reference plane. Create reference plane. Take this dimension you've already created. One, that one right there. Take these, this lock does have to be hit. That's interesting. I didn't see the lock. Oh, you know what? It doesn't have to be hit. These guys I could probably fix right here by saying edit work plane, make that go to the bottom, and they should go down there. Which means that if I loaded this into the project, filter, we should now end up with both grip handles. We can take the one grip handle and lock it to the bottom there. We now load this into our actual project. What I'm after is, can I go to a front elevation? Look at that. You know what's happening? And we caught it by things acting weird. It's because they were pipe accessories. I'll bet you this acts completely different if I make this a plumbing fixture. It does not. Why are we getting no grip handles?
Did you tie my instance parameter for the leg length down to an instance parameter in the filter model?
Yeah, that's what happened. No, not that one.
Hey, Brian, I'm gonna have to jump off.
Do it, buddy. Do it. Well, I'll send you this as soon as we got it worked out.
All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Yeah, you're right, Eric. That was me. That was me. We got that reference plane to there, to there. So that actually would be a good thing. It would only drag to the bottom of it. It should be saying. This needs to be an instance leg length. Actually, you know what? I want to change that back to a pipe accessory. more importantly, because see what's going to end up happening is this is going to go up. Why didn't that move? Wouldn't you have expected that to move, Eric?
What's that? The bottom?
Oh, something happened with that pipe. You know what happened with that pipe? That 3 inches is a bad number. Or 3 1/4 inches. It probably needs to be 3 inches. And now I can draw. It didn't know how to make that transition. Yeah, that's what I'm expecting right there. So if he sets the height of his pipe is around 2 foot, then he could drag this. I think that's what he needs. If I came down here to families, pipe accessories, see if you knew this one here, pipe accessories. There's my filter. I'm just going to name that filter type 1. Did you know you could hit save right here? So that we can look. Where the hell did I save that? In the vowels. Oh, I hate that. Filter type 1, 816 KB. I'll send that to Mike. Eric, I muted you just in case you say anything. It was a little bit heavy, so you don't mind. If you say something, just let me know. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to Mike. I'm going to kick you back on, Eric. We're going to say our goodbyes. You can remove your mute, can't you?
Probably I can remove it. I've been muting and unmuting it whenever that's happening.
Try unmuting.
Yeah, I can unmute it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you could unmute.
I got a call coming in.
Misty, anything else you think you wanted to cover today? Thank you for drawing that eyelet for me, but we need to figure out what was going on there. There was some weirdness going on with that. I lost you lost your mic somehow. Can you kick it back on? Nope, I'm not hearing anything. I'll let you know when I hear something.
See, you just tell me if I
Now it's
can't
working.
get it. It is? Oh, cool. I don't know. I hit this. It went off on me. Mono auto. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Weird. Okay. So, no, I was just gonna start the oven for pizza. Yeah, no problem. With that family, I just should have started with the face base. So,
Well, no, I don't want to lean to everything being on the face base. I want to look at it, but I want to look at it on the bigger monitor where I can see all my parameters. Something weird is going on there, but I do remember the last time I went into building all these subfamilies, it matters what kind of category it is below it. Okay. And I want to cover that in another video or another session, maybe next week. because I'm telling you, I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. And that is, if it's a generic model, you can't rotate it. But if it's a pipe accessory, you can rotate it. And you're going to be like, why does that happen? And there's no rules written anywhere. I want to do a little bit more playing this weekend with it, which is going to be beneficial. We need to do a little other testing with the valve, how we're going to rotate that valve around, because I liked how that worked today. What we did today really showed me some potential in the fact of being able to rotate that 90 degrees. Because if you remember, I was telling you before, I couldn't rotate that thing at 90 degrees. I had to put a little if trap in there to make sure it only rotated to almost 90 degrees. And I think that's what we'll cover next week. What do we got? We got about 2.5 hours in. That's not bad. I want to build this up to be somewhere between 4 to 6 hours. But for right now, it's Friday. My brain hurts. Turn the oven on. Bring me a Pepsi. I love you. Thanks for joining. Eric, we'll see you, buddy.
Bye, guys.
I'm going to end the stream.